So you read the title and clicked on the video. Now, this is going to be a bit out there, so just bear with me on this. Royale is the latest Hi-Rez Studios game to be released, and it's a different take on the Battle Royale formula, which, you know, this game places an emphasis on skills and classes, and from what I can tell from my rudimentary research, this is the only game, or Hi-Rez is the only team doing it so far. But like everything, this will probably change in the future. The game has attracted a lot of prominent streamers and content creators. I mean, aren't I here? And the general consensus is that this is a decent game, and no, we won't be discussing some of the more fun patches that Hi-Rez has tested on the servers. Instead, what we'll be doing is peeling back a development layer and questioning whether the realm aspect was the best decision for this game. So this isn't Hi-Rez Studios' first rodeo. They've made games before, and a few of them are pretty successful as well, namely Smite and Paladins. Being the games that are widely popular and constantly updating, it makes business sense to have lore in the game, no matter how lackluster or underwhelming they actually are, but I've already made a video on that. If you haven't seen it, it should pop up in the top right hand corner of your screens. The thing is, as soon as you add any sort of lore or backstory, you're not sitting on just a game, you now have a pretty valuable IP. For example, the best use of our IP is Heroes of the Storm by Blizzard. It uses all of the lore that Blizzard has amassed over the decades, and they can essentially add any character from any of the existing games to this one. Just think about it, it's crazy to think about. You can play as Deckard Cain and get the killing blow on Tracer, and you also have the freaking Lost Vikings added in the game as well, and that's wild. So this concept of IP isn't foreign to Hi-Rez as well. I mean, it could be argued that Hi-Rez copied the IP of every religion in the world for their game Smite, but you know, that's a joke if you didn't get that. If you're somewhat active in the Hi-Rez ecosystem, you will have heard of Hand of the Gods, the card game that tried to be like Duelist but ultimately wasn't. Now that game used the Smite IP. You could play as the gods and the creatures that were previously just NPC. The other game where the Smite IP was used was Smite Rivals. Now if you don't know what that game is, it's probably because it was shelved early because it was announced to be in the works, there was some tests announced for it, and you know, ultimately it was announced that the game was shelved. It wasn't released to the general public and you could only play it in HRX. Paladins, on the other hand, also has a new spin-off, if you want to say it, Paladin Strike, and compared to the other IP, it's actually a success. It's regularly updated and has a respectable player base. Now that's something that can't be said for Hand of the Gods, which hasn't been updated since February. It also had a 24-hour peak of 27 at the time of recording. Now 27 people worldwide playing your game. Let that number actually sink in. Now we will take a closer look at Realm Royale and dissect the design decisions. So firstly and most importantly, we can see the similarity to Paladins because that's the game it's based on. Stone Spear, legendary weapon for the mage, is actually Inara's default weapon. The Slug Rifle is actually Barak's blunderbuss, and the ability Saw is what Eevee uses as her ability. We also have the locations that are inspired by the various maps too. Sentinel Hold is no doubt based on the Stone Keep aesthetic, and Jade Gardens is based on the new map Ascension Peak. Of course there's new things as well, but this is what they're all based on. The chicken mechanic was actually copied from Pip's ultimate, Evil Mojo, while Pip's potion launcher is also in the game as Engineer's legendary weapon, which you know is bullshit. And for the most part, it works well. The ability uses, the weapons and the map, they all have a nice flow to them. It feels good to play. But there's a thing that's always nagged me about this game. The characters you play as. What exactly is their purpose? Because they sure as hell aren't in Paladins. Currently, you pick a class and then you have a choice of picking 4 different people. In the early alpha days, we had Quentin, resting in peace my man. But even then, he was a generic person that made no sense here. So, just why are you in this game, or even the Paladin Extended Universe? What are you doing here? And my questions don't actually end there. Let's just say that you win the game and you are crowned Crown Royale. Why? Why are you crowned Crown Royale? What does it even mean? I mean, in the grand scheme of things, these are very, very small things. But if everything else has been thought of, why wasn't this? Now the early version of this game, or its predecessor, was called Paladins Battleground, and in that game you played as an actual champions from the base game. You couldn't swap your abilities or weapons, it was essentially a copy and paste from one game to another, and that game was busted. If you had like Kinessa, Strix, Drogo's, Grover, you'd automatically won the game, there was no counterplay. Anyways, that version had even more ambiguity to what Realm Royale is trying to achieve, but at this point we're getting off topic. So let me entertain this crazy thought. Paladins wasn't the best IP used for Royale. Smite would have been a lot better. Let's discuss. So for starter, consider the class system. Instead of being the generic engineer, assassin or warrior, it could have been different pantheons, like the Greek pantheon could have been engineers, the Mayan could be the warriors, and the Hindu could be mages. And the main premise of the game would have been sorted as well. You're basically proving that your pantheon or specific pantheon god is the greatest one out there. But proving your pantheon is the greatest doesn't make sense in the group aspect, which I guess is the best thing that Realm has it going for it. So another alternative would be to adopt the Smite lore. And yes, Smite does have a lore apart from the backstories of all the gods. Not enough people are worshipping the gods, so there are two opposing ideas. One is where you instill fear in the people, which is the chaos side, and one is where you lead the people and help them, which is the order side. So instead of the gods fighting for the people, the humans will fight for the gods. So consider this a mini test made by the various gods of the game to see if the humanity even deserves to be saved or not. The losers, or people who don't basically come first, will go to the losing side, which is the chaos, and the winner will grace with favors from the gods, which would be the order. But that just solves the why are they fighting problem. Actual mechanics and gameplay would, in my opinion, would be a lot more fun too. Now, instead of having abilities root from random chests for no reason, they are now powers which are bestowed to you by the gods. You go to abandoned shrines all over the map, I guess, and when you activate it, the gods of the specific pantheon will give you abilities or weapons. So abilities could be like stuff like Darji's totem shackling people, or Discordia's apple luring people, or even freaking bastard cats being summoned. Then you can't forget the weapons as well, and the variety in Smite is huge. Anher's spear, Artemis's bow, Apollo's hand pistol thing, Baron Sandy's staff. As you can tell, I don't actually play Smite, I just thought it was a cool idea. Now, if you want to forge something, you go to the bigger temples in the map, and instead of using credits, you literally pray with your favors, which again you were granted by the gods. The more favor you cash in, the better things the gods will give you, because you know, you saved up your favors. It's an easy concept to understand. Then the legend you drop from the Zeppelin would instead be, let's say in an area, the sky suddenly gets a lot darker, and ultimately it ends with a lightning bolt hitting the area, and you see there's a nice chest that was left for you, or anyone that can claim it basically. For the circle closing in, it could be Jormungand eating his tail more and more, which would restrict the circle, and the rest of the world is gonna literally crumble away. For those who have no idea, Jormungand is the son of Loki, go figure, who became so large that it could wrap around the world. And I mean, hopefully you get the idea. The map itself could had some crazy mad fusion of cultures as well. I mean, wouldn't it be really cool to just imagine Greek and Mayan fusion, or Hindu and Norse, or even Egyptian and Roman? The buildings itself would be based in the traditional sense of the given culture or religion, with, you know, crazy fusion added. It would be very interesting to see this, because Smite did get a graphical update as well, and the game, while looking a lot more cartoony, feels much more real too. It's heightened the chaos versus order aspect, and personally I do like how it all plays out currently. Now, the thing is, if I'm looking at the game right now and thinking about this, someone in Hi-Rez must have thought about it as well. It's hard to believe that while the game was being developed, no one brought this up, that Smite should be used as the IP and not Paladins, and there are a few reasons that I can think of from the top of my head. Now, I'm just saying these are what I'm thinking, I'm not saying that's how it actually works, okay? So number one would be Smite was already used in 2 games to handle the gods and Smite rivals, and Paladins was only used in 1, which is Paladin Strike. And the other, now this will sound like conspiracy theory, but you know, it's a video and I can say this, would be that Hi-Rez saw the last 2 games made on the Smite IP weren't exactly successful, one got shelved and one is pretty much dead. Paladins, on the other hand, has a good reception in mobile, so you know, from a risk standpoint, it makes sense going from Paladins over Smite. But this isn't how it's decided anyways, it's just a fun little thing I want to add, and I want to include it anyways. I'm not saying that Paladins was a bad choice for the game, it's good, it runs well, it's decent, but the thing is, Smite is based on gods, and they have been pretty well documented, you know? Their stories are set in stone, you don't change it that much. The only thing left to do for you is to interpret the existing lore or their backstories into abilities or their champion kits. Paladins isn't like that. Everything here is brand new, and if you're thinking about it, this is the first attempt of Hi-Rez making actual lore from the ground up. And trust me, that's not easy. What they're doing now for Paladins is okay. It could be worse, but like I've said, that's another video I've made, which is over half an hour long, or actually just under half an hour. So another point I should clear up, because someone is bound to bring it up, is the fact that Smite has a few more years development time over Paladins, so there's a lot more content as well. Paladins will eventually catch up to Smite in content today, but I don't think it will ever surpass Smite in content unless, you know, development of Smite stops and Paladins continues long enough. So yeah, I mean, I guess this video is me basically entertaining the idea of Smite making more sense as a battle royale than Paladins and how it could have been done. But you know, tell me what you think. Let me know in the comments if you want to, and you know, if you want to, you can also follow me on Twitter at NinjaBoffin. Now, because this is still a Paladins channel and I have a lot of codes, I want to give some away. Ending a week after this video is uploaded, I'm giving away 2 Invader pip skins. There will be a Gleam link in the comments and the description as well, so you know, enter that. It will last for a week. So yeah, till next time champions, I will see you in the realm. Royale? So now we will take a closer look at Realm Royale and dissect the design. You couldn't play it, you could only, oh my gosh. And who became so large that